Well, my first guest has learned the hard way how far we've fallen. The police state is already here. On December 22nd, 2022, in the Los Angeles San Fernando Valley, the FBI busted open the front door to Eric Christie's home. It went downhill from there. His crime was attending a Stop the Steal rally, although mainstream media has been complicit in having you believe that it was much more than that. Doesn't he look so dangerous with his big smile on his face? To tell his own story, please welcome Eric Christie. Thank you so much for coming on the Counter Narrative.
Hey there, Christy. Nice to meet you virtually.
Yeah, you too. I got to ask you right off the get, when you attended that January 6th Stop the Steal rally, did you even, obviously you attended because you wanted to make a difference, you wanted your voice to be heard, but did you even know the depravity of where we were at now since then? I mean, just with that phone call, with what we've seen come out about the elections ever since, is it worse than you even realized that day?
Actually, I had no idea I had walked into a Fedsurrection.
And now you're convinced it was a Fedsurrection.
Oh yeah, like I was convinced like right afterwards when people started getting arrested, and what you'd hear people say, they would tell me, "Oh, don't worry about it. You didn't go into the Capitol. You're fine." And I said, "No, no, 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 no. You'll see. They're coming after everybody." Yeah, so I could tell right afterwards what was going to happen. It wasn't going to stop. They were just going to keep going. Made no difference whether
Yeah,
you were in
and
the Capitol or not.
yeah, and keep going they have. I mean, it's been alarming that they've been able to keep going completely unchecked, giving these long sentences to some that weren't even there at all. They've put out a battle cry that they're essentially going to expand their efforts to continue these arrests 3 years after. But it's really not even just the persecution that they announced that they're going to do, but there's just so many levels, and it starts with how they went about uh, gathering, if you will, those people that were there that day. I've talked to many who experienced a raid, like a kick down, essentially, if you will, instead of just reaching out, asking questions, were you there that day, and taking in peaceably. Like they just started out with all out war. So, can you explain to me your experience of how you knew they were coming after you, the full story?
Well, it was just it was in the beginning. It was just a sense, they're gonna start with the people who are in the Capitol, and then once they couldn't get any more there, they're going to go outside, and they're just going to keep expanding their reach. That was just obvious to me. And then towards the end of 2022, I could see I was being followed and watched and stalked. So I knew that something could happen, and then it did. On December 22nd, 2022, they busted open my home and terrorized me, and then
And
commenced to
that was completely
life.
unexpected. And I mean, they didn't just bust open. I mean, this was a hell that they put you through when they came to get you, if you will, right?
Right, right. Like what you were just reading. They busted open the front door. They got up on the roof and shot out the skylight. They had the SWAT positioned at an adjacent property, who they shot out the sliding glass door in my upstairs bedroom. It was just complete terror. Oh, and they flew a drone inside the house. They threw in some tear gas and a flashbang, and they kept going.
And I noticed that you were wearing or had on you a rainbow flag that day. You would think that that would have given you some protection based on the division they've tried to cause there, but that didn't protect you from the onslaught of persecution.
No, and a lot of people would say that, oh, they're not going to bother you, Eric, because. But I said, no, 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 that's not going to make any difference. They're coming after everybody, everybody.
Yeah, so the identity politics only matter when it behooves them, essentially.
Right.
And you've been a victim in so many ways, because you've also been a victim of the mainstream media. Now you have like ongoing litigation, so there's only so much you can talk about. But just tell me how you feel having to read these headlines and these articles that you feel are mischaracterizing at best and just outright lying at worst.
Yeah, Christy, I don't read them. I try not to give it any more energy than it already has. I hear about it from other people. For instance, when I got to the Gulag in DC, they said, "We knew you were coming. We heard all about it." I had no idea that it was all over national media.
And as far as how you were identified and targeted by the FBI to come get you, how did that happen? Did someone in particular sell you out, or how did that work?
Uh, I'll tell you what. There's been massive betrayal everywhere. Um, with this J6 situation. There's been betrayal with the government. There's been betrayal within families. There's been betrayal between friends, and so I had heard that there were people giving names, giving numbers, and giving false accounts about what had happened and what they knew.
Okay,
Massive
and then
betrayals
again,
everywhere. Massive.
I mean, this is just completely upended your life, and since it is basically ongoing, that's got to be tough. That there is this national attention and articles being written, and you don't really even have the power to fully be able to defend yourself because it is ongoing. You don't want to get in trouble when it comes to future litigation. So there's got to be just an unending amount of frustration, right?
Well, the pending litigation that you're referring to is, although the DC courts had convicted me and put me out with a couple felonies, uh, it is being appealed. So that's the ongoing litigation that you're referring to. Mm.
And what's interesting about your story is, we've heard many January 6 stories and the horror they've been through, particularly when they're thrown in the gulag and just there's been stories of abuse and everything else. But one thing that interesting that you brought up is just the abuse starts sooner than that. You really feel like you're abused in the courtroom.
All right, so the abuse, there was abuse in the gulag for sure. It was my experience that the abuse was coming from the administration. When I was there, we had guards. There were lenient guards, there were stricter guards, things like that. But the abuse was really coming from the administration. For instance, the communications during holidays would get cut off, or during the winter they would say things like, "The heat's not working." So, and then in the summertime they would turn the heat on you instead of the air conditioning. That was all coming from the administration. So that there was that abuse, but there's also the abuse in the courtroom, which is probably more significant. During my trial, you could see it quite well. My attorney was going for a full acquittal, and during trial, we had our Secret Service expert witness who had been approved by the government and the judge pre-trial, and then at trial, after our witness took the stand, the judge refused to allow him to testify. Also, the prosecution never provided any pretrial discovery or evidence at trial that the building or grounds were restricted under 18 U.S. Code 1752, the restricted grounds codes. That's what I was charged with. I was charged with two 1752 misdemeanors with a felony enhancement, being on restricted grounds, entering and remaining on restricted grounds, and disorderly conduct on restricted grounds. So we were going into court to prove that the grounds are not restricted, and the judge refused to allow our Secret Service witness testify.
It's unbelievable that they can do that. It seems like that the judges and attorneys in these cases should be given some kind of an obstruction charge because they don't allow any favorable evidence to come to the forefront. I mean, even with the videos didn't even the full release, and we're still waiting on the full release until
Right.
just recently. Um, what do you think about that aspect of it, of withholding these videos, and do you think that there'll be any accountability as far as that goes?
It's hard to tell, like when that footage is ever going to be released. In my situation, uh, they accused me. They showed in court uh, video of voices saying things like "storm the Capitol" and things like that, and they blamed those voices on me, even though you can't see on camera who's actually saying it. The only thing that you see me saying on video is that it's our house, and you also see on video the Capitol Police agreeing with everybody that it is the people's house. So that's something else that came up in trial, like voices and things that were said in the crowd were blamed on me, even though you can't see who's saying it. It's just a voice. You hear a voice saying different things, and they pin it on me. The only thing you actually see me say on camera is that it's our house, which the Capitol Police agreed with.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so much that you can dig into about January 6th, so much more truth coming out. You did mention your appeal. What is the status of that?
Well, my attorney's still working on it, so it's still in the works.
And so you're able to be a free man until you can wait for this appeal. Is that how that works?
I don't know if I would say that I'm free. I'm just out of jail. Okay. Do you follow Laura Logan?
Excuse, can you say that again?
Do you follow Laura Logan by any chance?
Yes. Yes, we've had her
You
on the
do?
show as well.
Oh, perfect. Because I wanted to read something that I found on, I believe it was her Twitter account, and it relates to my case actually.
Yeah, please do.
So, so she asked this question. She says, "What area of the U.S. Capitol was restricted by the Secret Service on January 6th, based on the presence of the Vice President? Why is this still not defined or known all this time later? This directly affects hundreds of J6 defendants. When will the Secret Service and the DOJ do the right thing?"
Yeah, I
That's what
mean,
she
because
says.
not only are they not defining that area, but it's obscured because there's actors, bad actors, and I do think there were actors that have yet to be identified that were seen before anyone the crowd made their way down, that were like taking down those barriers, and they still haven't even identified who those people are. Like, where's the raid or FBI door kick down of that person? Oh, you just couldn't find that person that was like taking these
Right.
down, because so many people didn't know, and rightly so, didn't know what was considered restricted because the gates had been removed before they even arrived.
I'm not so sure that anything was restricted. There was as far as I know, 6 permits issued that day, different
Yeah.
rally permits.
Well, I know that folks can support you in your continued fight. That, like you said, this has completely upended and destroyed your life on so many fronts. I don't think people can fully appreciate the January Sixers, other than like the threat of being thrown in the gulag. It's how are they supposed to move forward in society with getting jobs when there's this like scarlet letter on you, right? And just this constant stress and strain, right?
Yeah, but my successful appeal will help those yet to be charged with or tried for 18 U.S. Code Section 1752 being on restricted grounds. So there's like a glimmer of hope there.
Yeah.
We're still
Yeah, but
fighting.
yeah, but the fight, it can be not only emotionally taxing but financially taxing. So you can donate to Eric's Give Send Go, um, the disaster relief fund. We're going to actually put a link to this Give Send Go in the description box below. If you can send any amount, all of us coming together to support these folks that have been courageous and afflicted, any amount helps. So we're going to put that link in the description box so that you can help Eric, Christie. One final question. Trump, despite all of the attacks that he has been facing, he had another win last night in New Hampshire. Are you hopeful that he can get back in and he can kind of help right some of these wrongs, maybe do some pardons, things like that?
Thank you for asking that question. I believe Donald Trump is commander in chief right now. I've never had any doubt that Donald Trump will be our president in 2024. And by the way, did you see that clip that came out of the New Hampshire, which you're talking about, the woman who yelled out, "Free the J6ers, free the J6ers, free the J6ers"?
I
Did
have
you
not
see that
seen it
clip?
yet,
Oh God,
but
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
have
have
to
to look
send it
for
to
it now
you.
that you mentioned it.
I'm gonna send it to you. It's amazing because there's a woman who starts yelling out, "Free the J6ers, free the J6ers, free the J6ers," and he says, "We will." He points to her and says, "We
Oh,
will." Yeah, it was,
I
I
love
cried
that.
for 2 hours. I cried for 2 hours. It was amazing. It was spiritual and beautiful. Yeah, I've never had
Well,
any
I'm glad that you
doubt.
addressed that. I'm glad that that gives you hope and that you addressed that, because I know that there's been some critics that were like, "Oh, he didn't do enough. He left them out to dry." And so I'm glad that that gives you hope, and I hope that he will be able to come in and correct some of these things, if we can get past the cheating. But I'm just so happy for you that things like that can give you hope, and that you're holding on to hope. And I hope that many will continue to support your legal efforts moving forward, because this is just the it's just been brazen and bold and evidence of a police state that we just cannot accept as the new norm. So, Eric,
It's
thank you so
coming for
much. Keep me
everyone.
updated. Yeah, keep me updated on this. Thank you so much. All right. It is disheartening. It is hard to continue to expose ourselves to these stories. You turn on the news and you feel hopeless. There's woke agendas, open borders, inflation due to out of control spending. The list goes on. You know it. But there is something that you can do. If you can't run for office, if you can't do something like that, there are other things you can do. One of those is buying from companies that believe what you and I believe. We need to stick together now more than ever. And there has been one company that's willing to stand with you since 2012. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They offer the best nationwide 4G and 5G coverage on all networks, and they use the same towers as the major carriers. So you can also expect to continue to get that same coverage. They have service plans to fit any budget. 100% US based customer support team provides exceptional customer support. And again, more importantly, Patriot Mobile shares your values, supports organizations fighting for religious freedom, your constitutional rights, the sanctity of life, and our veteran first responder heroes.